Hey everybody, hope you're doing pretty good. It's Sunday night. The hair's not so good because I don't do it on Sunday, but whatever. I still wanted to do my Share Your Battle series video, even though not that many people watch these, but there was a talk about trying to make these videos not only about the champion level, but some of the lower levels. That's kind of hard for me to do. I'm sorry. I know people like my in depth reviews of the cards that are good for this, but obviously it's hard to really know what's really good in the lower levels when you only play in champion. I'm still going to try to think about it a little bit, and we'll see if I can give you some ideas in this video. So in this week, the Battle Mage Secrets, they wanted us to go over the Silent Summoner rule set. This one is actually some of the favorites for the people that don't have the best summoners in the game because it equalizes things quite a lot. It makes it so we can't get auto hit with Kitty. We can't hide people with the one I'm forgetting about right now, Lily. We can't dodge with Astral. We can't have magic armor anymore with Wraith. We can't have Void and Shatter with Immortalis. We can't have Possibilus the Wise giving us some ridiculous reach monsters, and we can't have Jotun blasting all over the place, or even Yasik making it so that they don't have to hit that Almo that you have in the front row, right? But what summoners are good when they're silenced? Well, it's obvious. It should be relatively obvious. We're going to get rid of all of the Chaos Legion ones because you don't want to use any of them, and we're going to get rid of the legendary ones and just look at these rares because these are the monsters that you usually want to use. Why? Because they're 3 costs. This would also matter for the other battles. Now I'm going to add legendary back in here because we have Camilla Sunbringer, and we also have Kretch. These are the 2 dragon ones. These 2 are actually, in my opinion, when available, the best summoners to use in Silent Summoner. I think this will go throughout the board for every single rule set, every single level, bronze, gold, silver, champion, because I forgot about Diamond. The Diamond, the evil place where max level players still have to fight max level players but aren't getting champion points. But we got Kretch here is the more like easy one for you to get. If you have Camilla, you might as well use her. You get, I think, a little bit more bonus points and stuff for this. But basically, all this does is it gives you access to the dragon cards as opposed to only having access to one team's cards. And if you're not getting, any of the summoner buffs anyways, you might as well have 2 teams of monsters to choose from for your lineup. Because silent summoners just silence your summoners, normally you're just going to be looking at the other rule sets and the mana caps and picking a team that has good monsters for those mana caps. So I'm not going to say there are any all-stars when it comes to, teams for, or even cards for this that I can even really suggest. Normally I would get really in depth, but it almost ends right here, right? You use a dragon summoner if you've got them and can at 3 mana. Use a 3 mana if you can. If you don't have access to any of these because you're a real new modern player, then you're going to use one of the 4 cost summoners, and you're going to be looking probably towards using Shispa unless you actually put out the money or Sispa. For a Quicks. If you have a Quicks, then you would use the Quicks. Same thing, though, same principle, right? You're going to use the cheapest summoner that you can use because they're not doing anything for you that gives you the access to the most amount of monsters. Duh, okay, review for this all over. But I am going to give an honorable mention now to the team that I think does the best in Silent Summoner games. And some people might laugh at me for this selection, but I'm going to go Death. Why am I going to go Death? Because the Death Summoners are terrible. Let's just put it out there. I mean, the one exception to this is the dodge ability and the resurrect here on Astral Entity, but in general, the death summoners, they debuff the other team. They don't make your team any stronger. You could argue maybe Waka gives you some interesting lineups that you can try, but it still doesn't make your monsters any stronger. So the death monsters are designed knowing that they can't really get a summoner buff that gives them an extra archery damage, an extra magic damage, an extra anything. So just par monster to monster, they actually sometimes stack up a little bit better than other monsters. The other reason why I'm going to give death a little nod here is because Death has a very good gamut of monsters all by themselves. So if you don't have a dragon summoner, you can see they have 11 cost monsters, they have 8 cost monsters, they have some of the best low cost monsters in the game. The Cursed Wendigo is a beast all by himself. These are some of the all stars of low mana that they can have here with the Dark Ferryman, the Soul Stranger, Life Sapper. And when they don't have to deal with the other team having blast or auto hit or, being able to pick up Void and Shatter to get rid of Night Ghoul's armor, all of a sudden these cards get a lot better. So they're an interesting card. They're a team I kind of lean towards when I can. It's basically a Dragon Death team. Dragon cards are obviously awesome. If you've got a Dragon Splinter, you're going to lean towards using most of those cards. But if not, Death is kind of my go-to. The other teams that I would say I kind of pay attention to, if we go back to the summoners, and I know I'm going for a little bit longer, are summoners. When you look at the teams that have summoners that don't necessarily do a lot for the lineup that you might be able to play. My example here would be if you went green, and Obsidian, it buffs magic, Mylor gives you this, but there's a lineup here that you could run with melee and archery that would be no worse off without any kind of advantage that Obsidian would normally give them. So they are meant to be good. So my point here is, if you look at the summoners that you have and go a different route, like, it's kind of strange, but a magic team from fire, a archery and melee team from green. If you look here, these summoners are kind of unique into the fact that they're similar to Death and only General Sloan buffs someone. So there are some really good life teams that you could run. And so that's something that I would point out, except for you're going to need to make sure that you use the monsters to supplement for what the summoners would normally do. And what do I mean by this guy's a healer and this guy has void armor. So maybe you go in here, and if you're going to use the life team, sorry, I actually picked the summoner like it was going to show me, like a card I would show you that would be really good if we had the monsters in. Is the new rewards card, which hopefully a lot of you by this time have him leveled up. Let me see if I can find him. He has void armor. He has a self heal right here. You got your Imperial Knight. If you've got him maxed out on level, but if you don't, once he gets to here at 5, so if you're playing in silver, you'd have a void armored magic self-healing monster that could be your tank in the life team that plays off of what both of the other 2 major legendary summoners use. So that's like one of the things I would say. And then you could still turtle behind him, kind of, with the exception being he obviously doesn't have the taunt of a shield bearer. But when you can't give shield bearer magical armor, just be aware of magic teams being available, because they could be coming at you. Even when I go Death team, I'm going to play some of their really good mages, because I know I'm not going to run into magic armor. I know I'm not going to run into void, at least not on a grand scale, but I would run into it on this monster here. So him with the True Speaker behind him, you're talking 9 magical armor with 9 life, and a cleanse if they were to mess up his auto heal. And he's bouncing back to magic if they do tend to bring it, which is a possibility. All right, let's go ahead and get into the battles I want to review. I have 2 actually to show you, because I had back-to-back Silent Summoner matches. So I had this one here where I beat Godly Rich, and I had this one here where I lost to Null Flame. And we're going to get the idea of some of the teams that people bring to match. And I'm going to show you that even though Silent Summoners is a rule set, it is not one that really dictates what you do with your team. Instead, the cards that get brought into play, and let me go ahead and let the buffs get out. Oh, I didn't mean to let that attack get off, but well, okay, my archer took away his armor on the first attack. But right here, you're looking at equal opportunity. So you got everybody with evasion. This kind of means you're going to play a taunt card. We both played a taunt card. You have armored up, so that means maybe you're going to play mages. I played mages, but if you see mages coming, maybe you play void. And because you have monsters can attack from anywhere on the board, you're going to use monsters with double attack that normally would be squishy tanks, or you're going to use this amazing card, the Vigilator here, who gets 4 attacks, which is pretty wild. This was kind of an interesting play. I guess what he's hoping for here is that you're going to kill the Vroos and buff these guys up here, but he's got a taunting tank here, so with a resurrect. So it's an interesting to see a martyr play. I didn't really go for that. I do have a resurrect on my side, but I obviously was expecting to go here. And then the other monsters I played, this was a speed boost with my last 2 mana. This was a chance to have the life sapper hopefully deal a lot of damage and get a lot of HP. So if it came down to a battle near the end where the life sapper was important, it would be able to last a long time in front of the Naga assassin. Obviously here we've got the double attacking, crippling, dispelling, puppet. This card is just, for me in this mode, going to be one that's going to come up here in death. And if you're going to play the taunting tank that has the chance to scavenge with a healer behind him, you might as well go ahead and throw in a resurrect. Now obviously one of my problems for my lineup would have been a affliction early on. Luckily there is not an affliction on this side of the map, so that's pretty good. But we both, this is a very interesting match, and I didn't know if I was going to win it. So we'll get into it. So as you saw there, let's slow it down a little for the recap. It should speed up a tiny bit here, hopefully. So there we go. Now we're going normal speed. So you can see my team is a little bit faster than his, like other than Vru's. Right here, I thought I was in trouble. I was like, wow, they really went to town. But then I got my heal. I got dispelled down. I was at 3 life, and I'm thinking I could be in trouble. Now I'm down to 4 life, but that void is nice. And then we get our first miss, but we got poisoned. Things were just not looking good, and then we died. So now we get resurrected. Our first resurrect is gone because I actually went double resurrect. So did he though. Over here, I didn't mention that. But then our double attack does take down the Wave Brood. He doesn't have void armor, so our magic attack takes him down again, and we popped both of his resurrects gone. And now we scavenged a couple times. We get poisoned again though. But here, we get brought back to life. And luckily, there isn't a magic attack that goes off before my heal, so I get healed up. We bounce some magic back there. We life leech there. So we're getting some good life leech in the back, kind of, even though we're not getting it nearly as fast as I was hoping. But here, once again, we get the double attack. We're getting the taunt off the board. So now we go ahead and pop this guy, weakening their attacks. We scavenge again. We get poisoned again, but that's kind of expected. But then we get a double miss. And that double miss, due to the flying, was so good because that allowed him to live through these next couple turns and make sure that everything was going good. Now here at the 5 speed, luckily I still have my 6 speed puppet here, who with that dispel is going to take out this healer, get it off the board. That lowers both their HP, and it also gets me a scavenge. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get any more misses, and this is where the Vigilator really showed his skill in taking out 2 monsters in 1 turn. But it's going to be a little too late as we pull him to the front. Now we are limiting his 4 attacks to just 2 attacks. He does pop my Osure, but after that, we're able to get that cripple hit in. We're able to take away all those buffs from with the dispel, drop him down to 3 damage, and then the mages will finish him off. And we've got ourselves a nice solid win over a good player. But as you can see, like I said, we both went to our 3-cost Dragon Summoners, and it allowed us to bring those cards. Now, I went with the combo of bringing in those death monsters, as I mentioned that I like to do, and they paid dividends for me. I thought they all worked very well. He went the route of going with some interesting cards from the life set that just didn't end up having quite enough power. And the main thing, the puppet star was really, the possessed puppet was really the star of that battle, along with the scavenging, Dark Archon that got some heals. Now, then I went into another match, and I was thinking, when I make my video, maybe I'll be able to show 2 wins, but I'll at least be able to show 2 different teams, and then show something that obviously, let's see if I can't get this right. He gets his buffs. I get my deep. Okay. Well, I can't ever get it right. I got 1 attack. But here, we're Silent Summoners. We only have Fire and Life. I told you Life is kind of my other team that I kind of like to go to, just because, see, if you don't go Archery, none of these cards are missing a buff. And he had a similar idea than me, though his lineup ended up being better than mine, in my opinion, once I actually saw it. I was playing this card here, and this was probably the card that was the mistake, along with maybe this card. I stand by this one But like I probably could have done something with this 4 mana that would have been kind of interesting. But obviously, I wanted the blind, and I did blind his team, but I should have saw that they were going to have Jared Scar too, and maybe done something to deal with Jared Scar or to be more prepared for him. This card with this card for 7 mana was probably a better use than this 7 mana, and I have this card, but I don't have this card leveled up. Mine is only at level 1, so I didn't think to play that. And then he played this speed boost, and this speed boost is what ends up being what dominates me here in this game. He doesn't go with any healing, so having my affliction here doesn't matter. He doesn't go with any magic, so having my affliction here doesn't matter. This is such a powerful tank that I should have known he was going to use it too, and I should have thought about that. And so I probably shouldn't have played him. Maybe I still would have played this card, but I could have played... I don't know what I could have played here. The one thing I could have thought of is maybe... the 2-drop legendary that for some reason his name's eluding me, but it would have slowed them. Because if they would have slowed them, maybe this would have been okay. But you're going to see, they both get their attacks off. I do take away his speed boost, which is kind of nice. And I thought, okay, but then look, I just can't hit anymore. Miss with the flying blind, miss. Now they're blind, but he can't miss. But when nobody else can hit, I get totally messed up, and my Jared Scar doesn't even hurt him. And then even though he scavenged up all that life, their Jared Scar just pops him immediately. We get another miss. Now here I hit there, and then we just, it's just not enough. I don't scavenge. His Jared Scar is just eating my entire team for dinner. It gets really nasty here. And we didn't get lucky with many misses on the blinds. Obviously Jared can't miss, but the other monsters didn't miss. And I got just whiff central even after taking the blind out. So I just got totally demolished. And, that'll end this one here. It was a little bit longer maybe than some of my other Share Your Battle ones. I do have a little note to the team. Elo needs to be looked at. We've got the start of the season here where a Champion 1 player starts in the middle of Champion 3. You can see that I'm in 33 on the leaderboard. You can see that I have 38 battles with 22 wins, so I'm 22-16. And I think technically my Elo has gone down 18 points. So I have a winning record of 22-16. That's a solid 6 wins over losses. And because of the way the Elo system works right now in Modern, the lack of match liquidity against people of your rank, it is just ridiculous the way that we constantly only get 10 or 20 points on a win and 30 points on a loss. You really have to run massive streaks together to get anywhere. And I mean, a 7 streak mixed in here isn't too bad in my opinion. And if I look at my battle log, like win-win-loss, 3 wins and a loss. There was 2 losses in a row. That was pretty bad. There were 4 losses. I actually this was my worst streak of the whole season here. Obviously right before that though, I had a streak of 5. So it's like I basically gave those all back. But it's not terrible, but it's like you cannot progress up here at the top. And it's a champion problem. Most of you won't care, but it's annoying because it's one thing if you're losing more than you win to not go up in Elo, or it's another thing to be up in Champion 1 and not be able to progress. It's a total another thing to be at the bottom of Champion 3 or the middle of Champion 3. I mean, could you imagine if you were playing in Diamond 3 or Bronze 3 or Gold 3, Silver 3, and you were 8-9 wins over your losses for the day and you lost Elo? Because that's what we deal with up here at Champion. I mean, it's a bummer. All right, guys, thanks. Have a good day. Bye.